Jacob sits at a desk clustered with papers, police contact information, and legal resources. The surveillance footage plays silently on the screen before him. His eyes stay fixed on the moment the drink was spiked. Sometimes, doing the right thing means going beyond what's expected. It means fighting for someone who isn't ready to fight for themselves. Later that evening, Jacob opens his laptop, searching for human rights advocacy organizations. He hesitates before clicking "Contact us." A message form appears. "We need help. A crime was caught on camera, but the victim is afraid to speak. Please contact me for evidence." Jacob narrates aloud as he presses send. Meanwhile, Clara's emotional distress intensifies as she stares at her reflection in a bathroom mirror. Her eyes are tired, her shoulders slumped. For Clara, silence had become a shield, one built from fear, shame, and the relentless echo of self-blame. She grips the sink, her thoughts racing. A knock on the door startles her, but she doesn't move. If you were in her shoes, would you speak? Would you believe your voice could make a difference? Thankfully, the human rights advocate responds, as the human rights lawyer reviews Jacob's footage, while the head of the advocacy group, Mrs. Olivia, watches intently. Advocacy begins with belief, believing survivors, believing that justice is possible even when the odds are stacked high. This is enough to launch an investigation. But we need more than footage. We need her voice. But how do you convince someone to relive their worst nightmare? Jacob sits across from Clara in a quiet park, sunlight filtering through the trees. He speaks gently, the weight of their conversation heavy between them. "They can help, Clara. They believe you. I believe you." Clara looks away, her hands trembling in her lap. Fear kept her silent. But truth tugged at her heart. If you were her, would you have the strength to fight back? The advocates alongside Mrs. Olivia meet with the police, compiling evidence, interviewing witnesses. Jacob hands over the footage, his eyes filled with quiet resolve. Clara watches from a distance, her heart pounding. The wheels of justice turn slowly. Every step forward feels like a risk. Insomnia clung to Clara like a second skin as she lies awake at night, her phone glowing beside her. Justein's name appears in a text message, "I miss you. Let's talk." She deletes it without reading the rest. Manipulation doesn't end when the truth comes to light. It fights to stay hidden. The next day Clara meets the advocates in a conference room. She sits across from Mrs. Olivia. Eyes are kind but serious. "You don't have to do this alone. We'll be with you every step of the way." Clara's eyes fill with tears as she nods, her voice barely a whisper. "I want to fight. I'm just scared," Clara said. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's standing up despite it. "Would you have the strength to fight back?" Clara was stepping into a battle where truth would be tested, lies would be exposed, and justice would be anything but easy. Finally, the day comes. The judge's bench looms, the gavel ready to strike. Justine sits confidently at the defense table, his polished appearance masking his dark deeds. Clara sits at the prosecution's table, her hands clenched together, her eyes focused but filled with fear. In every battle for justice, there comes a moment when truth and lies collide. This was Clara's moment. Justein's lawyer standing to address the court, a calculated smirk tugging at the corners of his mouth. The facts will show that this was nothing more than a misunderstanding between two consenting adults. Both intoxicated, both making regrettable choices. A common tactic: shift the blame. Paint the victim as the problem. Would the truth be buried under these lies? Clara taking the stand as she walks slowly to the witness stand, her heart pounding. She sits, her hands trembling slightly as she grips the edge of the seat. For survivors, the courtroom is more than a place of justice. It's a battlefield of memories, fear, and shame. The prosecutor stands, gently guiding Clara through her testimony. "Clara, please tell the court about your relationship with Justine." Clara's voice trembles but grows steadier with each word. "He seemed kind. Generous. He made me feel safe. I trusted him." Trust, weaponized and shattered. Justine takes the stand, composed and confident. His eyes flicker with charm as he speaks. "I never meant to hurt anyone. We were both drinking. Things just got out of hand. I never for once imagined this day. After all I did for her. This is how my reputation is repaid." He stares directly at Clara and steadily into Clara's eyes, making her feel like the victim, crafting his lies carefully, like a mask that fit too well. What more would you expect from a narcissist whose wealth and affluence amplify his character? The expressions of the jury remain neutral but attentive. Would you believe him? The prosecutor approaches the judge's bench, holding a USB drive. The screen flickers to life as the surveillance footage begins to play. The courtroom falls silent. The grainy video shows Justein's assistant slipping a substance into Clara's drink while Justine watches. Gasps ripple through the room. When lies crumble, the truth prevails. Justein's expression shifting from confidence to panic as the footage plays on. The evidence was undeniable. His mask was breaking. The jury files back into the courtroom. The foreperson stands, the verdict in hand. We find the defendant guilty. Clara exhales sharply, tears streaming down her face as the weight of justice settles on her shoulders. Justine and accomplices now face multiple charges. The truth had spoken, and this time, it was heard. Justice doesn't erase the pain, but it restores dignity. How many others remain silent, their truth waiting to be heard? If you believe in the power of truth, share this story. Have you ever faced injustice or known someone fighting for their voice? Let's keep the conversation going, and let's make sure no one fights alone. Clara stands outside the courthouse, sunlight breaking through the clouds. The weight of the final gavel strike echoes in her memory as the words, "guilty," replay in her mind. Justice had been served. The truth had broken through lies, and those responsible would finally face the consequences. But justice, though powerful, is just one step on the path to healing. Justine being led away in handcuffs, his expression dark with defeat. His assistant follows, head bowed, as the courtroom empties. The system had done its part. Justine and his accomplices would no longer prey on others. But what about Clara? Could her heart and mind find peace after such betrayal? Few days later, Clara sits with a therapist, a soft light filling the room. She speaks slowly, her voice gaining strength with each word. Healing is not a straight road. It's a journey marked by small victories and painful setbacks. Clara reconnects with friends, rebuilding her trust step by step, learning to smile again. With support, trust can be rebuilt. With courage, wounds can heal. In summary, understanding grooming. Grooming is a manipulative process that often hides in plain sight. It doesn't begin with harm, it begins with kindness. Trust. Attention. Predators use these tactics to build emotional dependency, creating confusion and fear in the victim's mind. A groomer offers gifts, creating emotional bonds, then slowly isolating the victim. Gradual manipulation. Trauma bonding. Gaslighting. These terms explain how grooming reshapes the brain, linking the abused with feelings of safety even when danger lurks beneath the surface. But knowledge is power. Understanding these tactics can help break the cycle and protect others from falling prey. Clara speaks at a community event, her voice steady, her eyes filled with determination. Strength grows from survival. Clara's story became a beacon of hope for others trapped in silence. She learned that healing is possible, and justice is worth fighting for. Grooming exploits trust. But trust can be rebuilt. Healing may take time, but it begins with one simple truth. You are not alone. Have you or someone you know faced manipulation like this? Share your story. Let's bring light to the shadows, and make sure no one suffers in silence. If this story resonated with you, like, share, and comment. Together, we can raise awareness and build a world where kindness is safe, and trust is never betrayed.